About control. We talked about some of this yesterday. It really blew up with this Graham Plattner stuff and some other news of the day. The Democrats need total control because their policies don't work and nobody wants them. So they need total control. The Graham Plattner thing is just an example of one of the ways that they get it, and we're going to get into it today. By the end of today's show, you're going to understand more about the dynamics on the Democrat side, how the op works, and how they're tricking people. This is The Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. This show has been anti-leftist, which means anti-Democrat from the beginning. Today is going to be a great example of why we are anti-Democrat. In Maine, listen, here's the end of the story up front. In Maine, the voters were tricked into believing that they got to choose their candidate in the primary. They chose Plattner. For better or worse, we can talk about that. But the Democrat voters in Maine chose him. Now it looks like he can't win for a variety of reasons. We can get into that too. So what does the Democrat Party do? The deadline's coming up. It's Monday. We talked about that. He's got to drop out by then. So the party can appoint somebody new. In other words, the voters have no say over it. None. This is a repeating, stop me if you've heard this before. 2024, Kamala Harris had not run in the primaries. She was appointed. This is a pattern now. The Democrats do not care about voters. We're going to show Carville. We're going to get into all of it. Right now, I want to start with this idiot tattoo, Nazi tattoo, self-pleasure himself in the public bathrooms guy. This is the guy that they voted for. He's giving his speech. The little setup here is he's going to start to tell you what was really going on behind the scenes. Okay? Let's see if we can get this up.
Allegations, though, that have brought us to where we are. It's the fact that they are being used by the political establishment.
He's talking about the allegations. It was cut off there. He's saying the allegations aren't the problem. The system is allowed to have allegations and we can respond to them, and we should be allowed to respond to them. This is what he's saying the Democrat Party is doing.
To put structural pressure on us. We live in a political system that is not built for normal people. It is a system that is built structurally to make sure that movements like ours cannot flourish. That if they begin to succeed, they can be crushed.
He's saying he's succeeding.
What we have accomplished here, you made possible. The people of Maine, the volunteers, the voters, the
stay with it
grassroots
now.
donors.
He's going to get into it. He's saying
I have all
we're in the
faith
same
in
boat.
the world that we could win if we could continue to harness that.
Maybe.
But the brutal political reality is that they are going to take everything away from us.
The they is the Democrat Party.
Those in power who have the ability to do so are using these allegations as an excuse to take away all of the things that we need to run a campaign. We are going to lose our ability to fundraise. We are going to lose our ability to access voter data. We are going to lose all of the things that any campaign needs on the basic level simply to function.
He's right.
Larger organizations, the national level party, the bigger donor networks, they have all committed to spending no money in this race if I'm in it. They would rather see Susan Collins win than have me be the next senator from Maine.
This guy is finding out who he got into bed with, and they're finding out who they got into bed with. Everybody knew who this guy was. Let's go over the facts. Everybody knew who this guy was. We might run a little bit more of that, but everyone knew. They had all the information. We're going to show the geniuses who put this thing together coming up. We'll get to that. Everybody knew. He could, in the primary, they had this person, Mills and Plattner, running. Mills came up short in the polls. They were running against Collins. Plattner looked like he could win. So Bernie and everybody else was all for it. Oh, we don't remember that? Let's take a quick look. Let's take a quick look. This is a great Mays Moore through Tom Elliott clip. And let's see all the geniuses, all the super smart lefties who said, hey, we got to go with this guy. They knew who he was. Now they want to change in the last minute, literally the last minute. I hate using that word, but last minute because it's Monday. And he's calling them out. He's saying the Democrat Party, doesn't use that by name. And he's saying they are taking away everything. We're going to come back to that. But this is what everybody was saying before they got the message from on top.
Purity. We're not hiring a priest. We're hiring a senator. We're going to talk about fucking tattoos and sexting. He gets a hall pass.
I don't give a fuck if somebody had a toxic relationship. Toxic relationships and tattoos and all of this shit. Talk about Susan Collins.
He could be 100 times more fucked up than he is. He'd never be as fucked up as what we got in Washington now anyway. What I'm more outraged about is stupid Susan Collins. I ask all of you to consider the candidacy of Graham Plattner. I ask all of you to understand his flaws.
Are you rescinding your support for Graham Plattner after the lewd posts that leaked?
What's the polling in Maine right now?
I don't get bothered by it as much. None of it. He's someone who had a drinking problem as a Marine.
Plattner has owned up to mistakes he made as a younger guy. Do I want to make the best the enemy of the good?
Graham Plattner is popular even though he is flawed. He is a flawed man, just like I'm a flawed man. And this is the key. Everybody is flawed at some level.
No one's perfect. All politicians have baggage. This just happens to be a candidate that has baggage.
He's got an anti-Semitic tattoo.
I feel like this president is saying, I hate black people.
I like Graham Plattner. You like Graham Plattner.
That's my kind of man.
That's my kind of man, says Pocahontas. Okay? This is what they were all saying. They didn't care. And it was true. They didn't care. Why didn't they care? Let's get to this now. We played this a bunch of months ago when it first came out. This is Carville, okay, talking about the strategy of politics and what they should be doing. Let's listen to this.
If the Democrats win the presidency in both houses of Congress, I think on day one, they should make Puerto Rico, D.C. a state, and they should expand the Supreme Court to 13. Eat our dust. They've done everything they could. They held up the 2000 election. They stole it. They've stolen Supreme Court seats. They've gerrymandered everything that you can. And the only way to fight this is don't run on it. Don't talk about it. Just do it.
Okay. The only way to do is just don't run on it. Don't talk about it. Just do it. They did this in Virginia. Spamberger. What did she do? She ran as a blue dog Democrat. Moderate. We're not going to tax anybody. We're not going to do anything. Got in, ran to the left. That's what Carville's saying. That's exactly what those people were saying. Galloway and all these idiots who are saying we can look past the rapes and we can look past the Nazi stuff. We can look past all of that. Why? Because we think he can beat Collins and we want power in the Senate. Why? Because James Carville just told you they want to vote in D.C. and Puerto Rico as states and pack the Supreme Court. Power is the only moral imperative to the left. Okay? That's the only thing that matters. So now what's happening? They got him out. He told us they forced me out. They took away they took away my money. They're going to take away my manpower. It's all coming from on top. They're going to take away my data. I can't run a campaign this way. Now, I would say, look back at Trump in 2016. Now, he had money. That's true. But he had his phone and he was texting back or Twittering back then. So maybe he shouldn't have dropped out. But he did because he doesn't know any other way. And the party, he looks like a beaten man there. He doesn't look like somebody who's delivering a good message. Hey, let's get behind the next candidate. He looks like he's beaten. This is what the Democrats do. By the way, this is politics. They're using carrots and sticks. I say this all the time. John Thune wouldn't have the position of majority leader if he couldn't whip the vote for a topic that has 84% approval, for a bill that has 84% approval rating across all demographic, all political, all race, all gender categories. He wouldn't get the position. Why? Because just like the Democrats are doing to Graham Plattner, he can take away funding. He can take away, he actually has way more power over a sitting senator than the party does over this guy. Now, I suspect sometime in the future, we're going to find out that this guy made some kind of a deal. Although from that video, he doesn't look like he's very happy about it. Okay? This is the control that the Democrats think that they do have it. And what's the main purpose of showing this stuff? They do not care about the voter. They do not care about the voter. They tricked the Democrat voters. Pardon me, I got something in my nose. They tricked the Democrat voters in Maine into thinking that they were part of the process the way the Constitution calls for. And now what are they doing? They're tricking them again, saying, you got to be with us. We got to get rid of Trump. He's the bad guy. No matter what it takes, it's okay. So you idiots in Maine, you Democrats, you should be standing up and screaming, you voted for this guy. Now, the person that they're going to choose sounds like it's this communist Troy, who's a Sanders acolyte. He's going to run probably like Spamberger did as a moderate. He's lying to you. You people, this is the show. Anti-Democrat, anti-leftist. We were trying to convince people to stop voting for Democrats. Why? They're lying to you. They are lying to you. They only told you to vote for Plattner because they thought he could beat Collins. And as soon as they don't think he can beat Collins, they say, great, now we want our real candidate, a real hardcore communist. And meanwhile, you're sitting around saying, I'm not voting for communists. You just did. And if you get behind this, you just did. Here's the solution for Democrats in Maine. Don't go to the polls. Do not go to the polls. Make sure everybody in your party stays home or go and vote for Collins. You have to show that you won't allow the party to be taken over like this. Why? Here's another Carville clip. Here's another Carville clip. This is Carville after that disaster in New York, whatever it was, a week or so ago. And let's listen to what he says. It takes like 4 keystrokes for me to get these things up here. Sorry about that. Listen to what he says.
And I have the quote right here. I'll get to it. She is against pass off all her views. She has attacked interracial relationships in the American flag. Lady, I ain't in the same party as you. I'm sorry. I just not. And I actually do think it's time for Democrats to talk the S word, schism. I really do. Everybody's always said, no, we're coalition, we're big tent. And there's just some that I can't be in the same tent with.
There's just some people I can't be in the same tent with. Okay? But he did this. He spent his whole career allowing the party to move to the left, allowing the party to move to the left. He worked hard at this. Now he doesn't like it. All of you Democrat voters in Maine, wake up. Stop voting Democrat. Maybe it's going to take 5 years. Maybe it takes longer. Maybe it takes 1 cycle. I don't know. But here's what I do know. You keep on putting them in office, they are going to keep doing this to you. You voters in Maine have no say over who's running in the United States Senate race against Susan Collins. 0 say. And I'll even put it this way. The party thinks that they're voting it. No, they're not. No, they're not. Everybody knows that the people at the very top, where they have all the power and they can hurt the people below, they're the ones who are choosing. They're the ones who are choosing this. Okay? This is how you vote out yourself from a democracy or from a republic, and you vote in leftism, socialism, communism, and fascism. And you don't realize you're doing it because you think you're going along with the party. It was my dad's party. It was my grandpa's party. It's like the Democrats. They're for the working guy. No, they're not. They're for themselves. Plattner's telling you that. They're not for the movement. Wake up. This whole Plattner thing, it shouldn't take it. Listen, let me see if I got this straight. I'll be, if you remember the great Carmack from Johnny Carson or Nostradamus here for a second. Here's what's going to happen in California for the gubernatorial election. Steve Hilton is going to be way ahead on election night. Huge, way ahead. He's going to win on election night. They'll shut the voting down. Stop me if you've heard this. And then they're going to find votes until the Democrat Bassaria gets elected or gets the lead, and then they're going to shut down voting and counting. Okay? You think that's okay because you don't like the Republican, because you've convinced yourself, TDS and otherwise, that the Republicans are the bad guy. But that's how you lose your rights, because they can't change their stripes. So they're doing it in Maine to Democrats. They did it to Democrats in the 2024 presidential election. Kamala Harris won 0 votes in the primary. 0. Nobody put her up to it. I still don't know who nominated her, how she got the nomination, behind closed doors. I know how Trump won because I saw it. I saw in 2015 and 16, whatever it was, like 30 people running for president. And slowly and slowly and slowly, it's whittled down, and he won. Okay? I know how he won the presidency because they couldn't rig it, although they tried. We're finding out now. Topic for another day. Joe DeGeneva, we're seeing now, the rigging has been going on for a while. All you have to do if you want to wake up, Thomas Sowell says, how did he transition from being a Marxist to being a free market capitalist? Facts. You Democrats, you just have to wake up. Don't be deceived like Robert the Bruce in the great movie Braveheart, when his father deceives him and he comes back and says, you deceived me. And the father says, you let yourself be deceived. You Democrats are letting yourself be deceived because you like one party. So you're like, well, I'm being told that if the other party wins, everything's going to end in the world. It's going to implode. That's not true. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to lose your rights. You lost your rights in California. You have no say over who is winning these elections in California. You might think you like Mussolini. And so you think, well, if he wins, then I'm okay with that. But it's not okay if you didn't get a chance to vote. They just picked them for you. That's just luck that you happen to like that guy. There will come a day where you don't like the guy, but then it's too late. Maine is finding that out. Wake up. This stuff, this is how we lose our country. And like it or not, Trump is the only advocate for ordinary Americans. Everything Carville said, by the way, in that last clip was a lie. Trump didn't buy or manipulate the Supreme Court. He had the right to appoint people, which he did, and they don't vote in favor of his cases very often. Amy Coney Barrett just made the stupidest mistake of almost any justice ever, which is to try to rationalize something that's irrational. Birthright citizenship. Okay? That's not Trump getting his way. What did I say the other day? TDS is real. This is one of the strategies. We're going to convince you, not about our policies, not about our legislation. We're going to just convince you that the other guy's worse. Vote for us. He's not, number one. Okay? He's not. But it's also not true. It's not true that you're better off. This is brutal. We're watching it play out. I hope we have enough people that are waking up. I hope we have them. All right. I want to play one more thing. I don't know if this is real. This is a clip that I saw from Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports. Okay. And he says in here that he doesn't know if it's real. Okay. But he says he thinks it is. He says he thought it wasn't real, but then he realized that it was. These are the guys that essentially helped pick Plattner. Okay? Just watch this interview.
At this point, you hadn't vetted Graham Plattner. You hadn't done a full scrub of who he is. How did you go about vetting him? And why did you?
We paid a nice firm a whole chunk of money and got some stuff back. Some of what you've seen on the news we got back. Other stuff we didn't.
Did the vetting process turn up the tattoo that became so controversial?
No.
The Reddit posts, did that turn up in the vetting process?
What a retard. What an absolute retard.
The firm sent us a thing, and it had some of the posts, but it didn't have all of them.
And what did you think about that? How did you think your way through the fact that he had posted these things on social media?
I said none of this will or should stop him from becoming a U.S. senator.
And what was your thinking there?
Agree.
By the way, that's exactly what you saw in that clip before with Galloway and all the other idiots. Why are we talking about this? He's going to be senator. Trump is worse. He's going to be senator. I'm not so worried about the Nazi tattoo. I'm not worried about the rapey stuff. I'm not worried about the whatever he was doing in the pleasuring himself in the toilet. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. Senator. Because when they thought he could win, that was okay.
I think if what the voters wanted were people who were grown in vats and had never done or said anything that they might regret their entire lives, we'd have a very different country. Part of our thesis here is that people do not want their candidates grown in vats.
Hold on a second. Grown in vats? We need a grown in a vat person to not rape somebody or to not put on a Nazi tattoo? He's saying that, right? I mean, are you hearing this?
They want people who are real human beings, and they want people who do not look and sound like the vat-grown people who've been leading this country off a cliff for the last century. And that was Graham.
That's Democrats who have been leading us off the cliff.
Just days after this interview, more details about Plattner's past emerged.
So this, let me see if I can pull this up so we can see it. Dave Portnoy says, I thought this video was fake at first. Nope, it's real. This is who handpicked Plattner to run in Maine. We can't hate politics enough. If it's real, he's right. Do you see how stupid they came across? Giggling and laughing? Like, oh, we paid a guy, a firm, a bunch of money. I bet you did. And I'll bet you that firm had done this for Democrats for years. Okay? You paid him a bunch of money. It was all just a scam. They didn't care because they had the polling. And in the case of politics, like with most things, they believe that winning cures everything. Okay? This is a great, I hope we learn our lesson. Okay? I really do. We got a lot more to get to today, but I hope we learn our lesson. I don't know that we will, but I sure hope we do. It is what I would call ridiculous to think that people like that are who's picking our candidates. Okay? All right. I want to get to a couple of other things. This came up. I saw this from the great Andrew Wilkow. And if you don't know Andrew Wilkow, he's a radio host, show, conservative guy. And he usually has some great content. And I saw this and I said, this hits right on one of the things I talk about all the time. New poll: Jewish Americans favor Zohran Mamdami more than Bibi Netanyahu by a whopping 32 points. Excuse me? What is going on? I say the two groups I use most often to talk about Democrats who need to wake up are Black Americans, come back to that, and Jewish Americans. Why Black Americans? Because Black Americans have been voting and putting Black politicians in place, Democrats, white too, in their inner cities for now generations. And what has happened? Crime gets worse all the time. Quality of life gets worse all the time. Opportunities decline all the time. Schools end up sucking more and more and more. Where are, generally speaking, the worst schools in any city? The Black neighborhoods. Why? I say, Black Americans, it's because you're voting for the actual racists. If somebody wanted to cripple a society, the way they would do it is destroy the schools so the students that come through do not learn basic skills in reading, writing, and math, so they can't really compete. That means that when they graduate, they can't get jobs, which means they become criminals or dependent on government. Either way, that works for the left. Either way. That's racism. That's systemic racism. You have got a education system that is designed and implemented, executed by Democrats 100%, and Black Americans, you keep on voting for them. You have to wake up. Stop voting for Democrats. Throw them all out. I don't care if it's your brother or they mean well and it's your cousin, or I know the guy from down the block. They're all part of the problem. Throw them all out. Shake the system up. Make sure everybody knows you're not going to just vote Democrat. Oh, vote Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. Hook, line, and sinker. They got me. Okay? And then they will respond to you. The good news is you do actually have all the power if you vote everybody out and you do a hard reset. Jewish Americans. Jewish Americans were huge supporters of Obama. Obama funded Iran hundreds of billions of dollars. What did they do? They did October 7th. They did October 7th because they were funded by Obama. Obama hated Israel. Obama hates Jewish people. He just tricks you. You've been tricked. You've been convinced to vote Democrat. And now you're convinced to like a Muslim Marxist over the Prime Minister of Israel, who's Jewish. If you think you're going to get a fair shake from the Muslim Marxist as opposed to the Jewish politician in Israel, you are brain dead. You are falling for this stuff. It is not okay. You've got to wake up, pull back all your money, stop voting Democrat. Yes, it might be uncomfortable because your brain's been distorted to think Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. They aren't your friends. They are not your friends. If you think you can live peacefully with these crazy leftist Muslims, you're going to have to think again. This is a great example of how the brainwashing goes. 32 points more? What? All right, we're going to move on to another subject, but that is, I mean, it's hard to, it's actually hard to move off of that topic. What is going on? Okay, we're going to move on. This is a topic that I talk about a fair amount because it's important, but I don't talk about it enough. This particular article is from The Blaze, and The Blaze is talking about how Republicans are missing this great opportunity. Conservatives are blowing the easiest political win in America. You can see here, it's about young men. Young men are abandoning the left in droves. The right could help them if it stopped treating them like a problem to manage. Okay, what they're basically getting at here is they're getting at this notion that some by the way, this is more and more not the MAGA movement. It's not the movement that I'm joining to try to get involved with, which I'm trying to help in advance of these elections in November and for 28 as well. Okay, but the message is really, hey, stop complaining. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Just work harder. You can make it. That is not true. The system has been corrupted. These young people, by the way, it's true for women too. They just haven't woke up to see it yet. The system is corrupted. A white young man cannot get a job in many places in, say, California or New York because they're vilified. They're told they're awful. They're told they're innately evil and terrible. And they're saying in this article, conservatives need to go and help them and bring them in. That's exactly right. How I choose to do it is choose to say to these young people, men and women, but this is specifically towards men, you're right. The system has been corrupted. DEI, woke nonsense, it's all corrupted. We can see it in California clearer than other places, but it's happening everywhere. You are not wrong. You are wrong about the why, and you're wrong about the solution if you think the solution is more leftism. Leftism is what got you here. All you Democrats, listen to James Carville now. He's saying, I can't be in a party. The tent isn't big enough with Zohran Mamdami and Daralisa Via Chevalier and the other ones in New York who are Marxist. It's not a big enough tent, he's saying. Young men, it is not always that you're not working hard enough. Yes, you got to work hard too. Yes, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps also. But In the MAGA movement, what we are doing, or we are resurrecting a real economy through the American system of the political economy. This is what Trump's putting in, bringing back manufacturing. AI is only going to affect manufacturing so much. Yes, robots are coming. We don't yet, and it's going to be a long time before robots are welding everything or doing electrical or doing plumbing. It will happen someday. But young white men, you can go into the trades. Young white men can use AI to now vibe code and do things. Okay? You do not have to go to the left. The left creates the suffering and the chaos, so our brains are all jumbled up and we can't think straight and we can't organize and we can't say, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. And before you know it, it's California and they have single party rule. That's what this article is saying. There was actually a couple of interesting parts in here if I can find it. After Donald Trump's victory, Democrats had to stop and ask what were, listen to this. One conclusion from the commentary class was that progressives had a serious man problem. And for once they were right. Democrats had made contempt of men, especially young white men, central to their message. And that came with a cost. Any white man who remained on the left had to accept that he was either uniquely guilty or expected to participate in his own dispossession. The party even launched a $20 million effort to discover why men abandoned it, only to arrive at the familiar conclusion that men were simply bad and deserved what they got. That's the same process that idiot we just played did when they looked for this information to vet Plattner. They knew ahead of time what they were going to put there. It was just a scam, this $20 million effort. Men are bad. Oh, okay, thanks very much. Okay, that is not true. I'm not going to be able to get it because I don't have a, I don't know how I read it earlier. I read it earlier. I think AI might have given it to me. The point of that article is important. The MAGA movement is the only movement that is an American movement. And there's room for white men and black men and Chinese men and all women, Jewish, everybody, Christians. It's big enough for everybody. Why? Because it's American. What we're not big enough for is Jew haters. What we're not big enough for is leftists. What we're not here for is Muslims who want to take over the world. We're not big enough for any of those things. Okay? We're not big enough for any of those things. But young men, yes, their system is rigged. Come and explore and join the MAGA movement. Trump is the only advocate we have ever had, so it's not really a surprise that ordinary Americans don't recognize it as such. Since Reagan, which, unless you're my age, 58, you have no real understanding of, okay? We haven't had an advocate for the ordinary American. So I wanted to put that up. Okay, there was another one here. We talk a lot about housing because it's important. Here is the surprising hidden cost. Hold on, let me get that up. This is about housing. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can play this.
The fifth year, and it kind of it reinforces what we have been saying all along, that the cost to build a single family home in this country continue to escalate and exacerbate.
The NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. This is a group that builds homes. They do this report every 5 years. And it came up today or yesterday, and it said that the average home costs $132,000 more than it should because of overregulation.
The housing affordability crisis, certainly in the new home market, we're up 40% over the last 5 years. And now regulatory burdens at every level of government and in every way possible are now totaling over $130,000 for the cost of a new home. I do think that we're going to see the trend is going to increase. However, if we can slow the pace of those increases, I think that would be equally important, right? It's a 40% jump over the last 5 years in regulatory burdens. Anything we can do to lower that cost, I think, would be really important.
Okay, this guy is not ambitious enough. He says, we just want to slow the increase. No, we do not. We want to stop the increase and have it go the other way. Homes were built.
A story in 5 words.
Sorry about that. Homes were built fine 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. We don't need all the regulation. The regulation is put in place on purpose to drive the cost up. Why? As the cost gets higher and people are suffering, people will scream for government to come in and fix it. Leftism. Okay? Leftism. That's what this is. We don't need that. $132,000 on average. The average home is under $500,000, which is still way too much. But $132,000, you can't believe the nonsense that's in that. In California, I think they still require all homes to have solar panels. Why? Their grid can't even handle the solar that they get now. They actually have to pay during the day when the sun's out, geniuses, and everybody has solar panels on. They have to pay Arizona to take energy off the grid because it makes it unstable. And then at night, when the sun's not out, they need to pay Arizona to get energy because the grid is unstable. You can't make this stuff up. This is why the Democrats need single party rule, total control, because nobody votes for this stuff if they understand it. Nobody. All right. I've been wanting to get to this for a little while. Oh boy, what happened? Where is it? Okay. We talked a while ago about AI. We try to talk about AI frequently, but we put on some Peter St. Onge. We put on a piece about Palantir using AI in a hospital in Tampa where they have dropped the number of people going into the ICU by something like 40% or even 50%, if I remember correctly. Don't hold me to that. We ran the story. I don't remember the exact number. Huge percentage. Why is that important? Because the fewer people that go into the ICU, the fewer people that are going to die, the less cost. It's expensive to keep somebody in the ICU, intensive care unit. How do they do that? They are crunching massive amounts of data from patients everywhere. And they're able to then see, when blood pressure and heart rate and white blood cells look like this, there's a problem that's going to come up 10 hours from now. Let's just handle that problem now, and here's how we do it. Does that make sense? This is what AI is doing. It is able to crunch huge amounts of data and find patterns. And then it allows the hospital to plug the information from the patient in, and then the AI says, you should do thus and such, whatever the thing is. And then the doctor can say, oh, wait a minute, that makes sense. I'm going to go try that. And then the person stays out of the ICU. Why do I mention that? Because there's a huge number of people who are starting to be able to use AI for themselves, particularly in the health world. What do I mean by that? Well, it might come to a shock to you, but you can read about this. Many, many doctors now in hospitals, in doctors' offices, when they have that iPad, they're on AI. They're putting in symptoms. So yes, they went to medical school and they memorized a bunch of things, and yes, they have an experience. But the human brain is confined by its ability to memorize, by its ability to remember, by the ability to tie in patterns. AI is not. So as I said about Palantir down in Tampa, you plug these things in and it finds patterns and says, oh, this is really a hangnail when we thought it was cancer. Well, great. I'd like to treat the hangnail instead of treating the cancer. So what individuals have been doing now is if individuals, I'm going to put this up, have been using AI for themselves. Okay? This is a woman, I don't know her. My wife sent me this article. Amy Dang. I solved my mystery fatigue with AI, the diagnostics game. I am not dying, but also not better. So one of the reasons why I like this is because she doesn't say, oh, I plugged everything in and then it was just like I was better. It's a process. But she's working with doctors, but she's getting way better results than she was getting just working with the doctors. And she goes through the why and the how. This is up in my X account, The Ordinary American, and then the email, if I can email this to you too, if you're not on X, theordinaryamerican@proton.me. Okay, I'm bringing it up because I talk a lot about how we need to keep ourselves healthy physically, mentally, spiritually. The left wants us hurting spiritually, physically, and mentally. If we're hurting, we're going to have less ability to think straight. Everyone knows this. The whole, is it the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle, whatever, the end of that story where it's like the first rule of life, don't panic. Okay, the first rule of life, don't panic. But we do panic. And when we panic, our brains get offline and then we can't think straight. And then all we want is a solution. We go to Big Daddy government, solve this for me. Okay? That's why this woman's post is so important. Read it, spread it around to everybody, and then try to help yourself. Practice, by the way, if you have, I got a sore back, maybe it's just because you tried to lift the couch the other day, but plug it in, play with it. And she goes into detail. She's not just taking the free ChatGPT and saying, I'm uncomfortable today. It's much more specific than that. She's putting in all of her symptoms. She's using the paid version. She's putting in her blood tests. She's doing a whole bunch of things. But it's worth reading, and it's worth understanding that these are the kinds of tools that are available for us. This ties in to prosperity in that if more of us can stay healthier longer, stay out of the ICU, leave the hospital faster, heal ourselves, require less time going to a doctor's office, the better. My strong suspicion is, I'll make a prediction. Predictions you shouldn't make, but I'm going to make a prediction anyways. Over the next 10 years, and it will take that long, we're going to get to a place where seeing your doctor is going to be you talking all of your symptoms into an AI as if you were talking to the doctor in his or her office, and plugging in any blood tests and anything else you have. Maybe you're going to have an Oura Ring or some other heart rate monitor, the Whoop or any of these things that do this, and you're going to plug all that data in. So before you even talk to the doctor, there's going to be an AI made around these things that is going to take all of that information, and you might talk for 3 hours. It's not his time now, okay? It's AI, and it's for your benefit. And you'll then go into the office maybe, or maybe you won't even have to. Maybe it'll communicate everything through an app. But it's going to say, we think it's this. Here's the follow-up. We want a little bit more testing, or we want you to try this supplement, or we want to put you on this antibiotic, or whatever it is. But that's the future, and you can do it to yourself now or to your loved ones. I was reading about somebody that was doing this with Parkinson's. Actually, it was Professor St. Ange, with not with Parkinson's, with dysautonomia. And I'm trying to get a hold of him because I want to hear, because I've got a person in my family that suffers from that. This is a great thing. It is going to create much more prosperity, not just because we're going to be healthier so we can work longer, although that's part of it, but we're not just cogs in a wheel. It's because our pursuit of happiness from the Declaration of Independence is hindered when we're suffering physically. We can't connect with our loved ones. We can't do our jobs, but we can't connect with our loved ones. We can't do our obligations to our family or our community when we're suffering, or when you have debilitating. If anybody's ever had chronic physical pain, it can wear you down. It can wear you down and have you think horrible thoughts when it won't go away. So the more we're able to use technology to stop that stuff, the quality of life in society is going up. We are pursuing happiness in a more expansive way. It's a very big deal, and it will create way more prosperity. Just imagine if Steve Jobs could have lived another 10 or 20 years. What could he have created? I don't know. But I now know that maybe if he took ivermectin and fenbendazole or membendazole, things would have been different. Maybe if he did ozone. Now, maybe he wouldn't have because he didn't believe in those things. I don't know. But the more those things are available, this article, please go and read it, okay? It brings prosperity. All right, one last thing. We talked a lot about the Trump accounts. By the way, if you can't get yourself to go sign your child up for a Trump account, you have TDS. Stop it. Go sign him up for the Trump account. The CEO of SpaceX, this woman, she is contributing, I think I read $325 million of her SpaceX stock to these Trump account people. So Trump account people are going to get not only money, taxpayer money, not only money from other citizens, Michael Dell et al., but also stock from SpaceX. That's awesome. Okay, that's awesome. So get yourself into that if your child qualifies. Why am I bringing it up today? We talked about it yesterday. Well, what I didn't say yesterday, I forgot. A lot of times when I'm rolling, sometimes I can't really even see my notes because I don't have my glasses and my writing sucks. So I forgot one of the most important things. One of the things you hear Trump say all the time, you certainly heard me say this all the time. If you knew me before I started the show, I said it all the time. The best way for us to start to really fix the economy and really fix politics is to strip the money from politics. Okay, genius, that's right. We all know that. How do we do that? Well, I'm not talking about donations. Okay? What I'm talking about is education, for example. We're taxed, which is unjust. It's another day. We talked about that. We'll talk about it in the future. But we're taxed, and then our money is funneled into the education industrial complex. And then it goes to all kinds of awful different groups like the teachers' unions, leftist, Marxist, anti-American stuff. Teachers, by the way, as you know, Corey DeAngelis, look on my X, The Ordinary American. He'll help you pull out of the teachers' union and keep your job and your compensation. All right? There's thousands of teachers doing it. But that's a great example of our tax dollars going to something corrupt. Why is that important? Because the alternative to that, which we should do, which Trump talks about all the time, is take all of the taxpayer money that's going to education in any form and funnel it through to the individuals directly. What will that do? It'll starve the corrupt industrial educational complex of any money because we're going to have a chance to spend it. Anybody with school-aged kids, you're going to have a chance to spend it. Maybe you'll send it to the public school, but maybe not. It is not a voucher. It is all of the money. What else is that going to do? It is going to expose how much of our tax dollars are really being used on education. There was an article, we used it in one of our shows maybe a month or two ago. New York City spends $42,000 per child, and they can't get them to know reading, writing, and math at grade level. $42,000. And I'll bet you, if that's the number that we're being told, I'll bet you it's closer to double that. You think I'm crazy, don't you? No. Wait and see. But if we took all of the federal tax dollars that we're paying in, that are being funneled through education, and send it directly to the individual, we would see what we're really spending. And I promise you, then the Democrats would say we got to spend less on education. Why do I bring that up in reference to the Trump accounts? This is sending the money directly to the people. Right now, Social Security, one of the biggest jokes, one of the biggest scams of all time. We were all told, you're going to pay Social Security taxes, but don't worry, we're putting it away in a lockbox and it will be there for you when you retire. No, that's not what they did. They took it and spent it. So the only thing that's happening is the next dollar that comes in from somebody's Social Security, they're paying the Social Security payments that the government owes people. It's an actual Ponzi scheme. The next one in is paying that, and they're just, and now they don't have enough money. The Trump accounts are the antidote to that because the money is going right to the individual. Right to the individual. And now he or she gets to see it grow over time. And after 18, they'll take it over and then they get to make their investment decisions on their own. This is one of the great pieces of this. The left knows that. Let's wait and see. I had a friend of mine yesterday I was speaking to, and they said, do you think there'll be a court case challenging the Trump accounts? And I thought to myself, boy, my brain says, who would ever do that? You're helping people. But if you're a leftist, you don't want the citizen to have the money directly. You want it to go through government. That's how you get your bribery and you pay people off and you buy votes and you corrupt it and you take it and you put it through nonprofits. That's how that all works. Thank goodness JD and the fraud squad are out on the case. By the way, where was everyone else in government over the last 50 years as our money was being stolen? Where were they? Everybody told us government's efficient. If we cut any program, we're going to have to cut giving citizens their share of it, like Medicaid. Oh, you can't cut Medicaid. Granny's not going to get her check. We don't have to cut Medicaid. All we have to cut out is the fraud associated with Medicaid. The Trump accounts, among 50 great things that we could talk about, which we talked about yesterday, some of them, it gets money directly to the citizen. This is what Trump is doing. More and more, the money directly to the citizen. Healthcare is another one. Wouldn't it be great if instead of all our taxpayer money going to the insurance companies, which is what it does, and they've made billions, stocks have gone up, executives have made billions in stock options. They sent all that money to us directly, and then we can do whatever we want with it. I can decide way better than the government or some company how I spend healthcare dollars. Why should it go to an insurance company? Send it to us. This is what Trump's trying to do. Get back to young people and young white males. If you want to be part of a movement that's resurrecting America and fixing things, that's not going left, that's not creating more of the elected class control over society, join MAGA. We are fixing things. Trump is the only advocate for ordinary Americans we've had since Reagan, and he's way better than Reagan, believe it or not. Okay, that's the show today. Really appreciate you being here. This is an anti-leftist show, anti-Democrat. We are trying to change people's minds and have them move away from the Democrat Party. You main Democrats who voted for Plattner, amen, you voted. I think you were stupid and you shouldn't have voted for him, but you did. Now the Democrat Party is telling you, we don't care about you. We're going to appoint who we want. Don't vote for another Democrat or you're going to get the same. All right, please like, subscribe, follow. Leave any comments, send us emails, theordinaryamerican@proton.me, on X, theordinaryamerican. We post everything there. It's like our show notes. We are fighting a fight, and it's a spiritual fight. Tomorrow's Forgiveness Friday. Greatest life hack in the world. Have a relationship with God. All right, we will see you tomorrow. As the great Father Mike Schmidt says, I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. I like to say also, I'm rooting for you. Please root for me. We'll see you tomorrow. We're having this problem.